All right. Howdy, howdy, howdy. I'm going to say howdy like everybody's here. I imagine y'all catch me on the fly when nobody else is going live. But let me just tell you. Um, I think I knew it was coming. I knew Bev would not do the right thing. I was hoping maybe the governor would have reached out to her and said, "Get stop this, stop it now, because what you're doing is you're bringing the world to us in a manner we don't want them to know us like this. This is not how it's supposed to be." But apparently, nobody is going to stop Bev. You know, I don't know what it's going to take. I don't know what it's going to take. And she doesn't have blinders. It's not like she doesn't know what she's doing. She knows what she's doing. Hi, mother of Vincent LePew. All right, so what I'm gonna do is Turtle Boy is on vacation, I believe, but he put out an article. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read his article because it's what we've all been waiting for. It's an interview with a juror. And especially today when Beverly has just stomped all over every what I would call right that Karen Reed possibly could have. The jurors are not getting any respect whatsoever. And I mean, the case that she cited, quite frankly, in my opinion, although I have no legal advice, I have no legal experience, it had to be the weakest argument I've ever seen. I listened to most of that on Melanie Little, but I don't know, I don't know who all is live right now. I can't. Hi, Finding Dory. Hi, Jamie. I don't know. Um, I'm just trying to figure out how to do what I want to say when I have time to say it. So I have a couple of hours. I'm sure it's not going to take me 2 hours to read this. So what I want to do is definitely I want to read the article by Turtle Boy. And I just want to say that my heart's broken for the jurors. Beverly has absolutely no concern for how she's making these jurors feel. I can only imagine. I can only imagine. And one would think Beverly could at least put herself in their shoes. You know, seeing her bias during the trial was one thing, but to disregard the jurors is something else. And as far as keeping their identities secret, if I'm not mistaken, the attorneys know who the jurors are. And with everything that Lally has shown us, if whoever's pulling the strings wanted those names, I have no doubt he'd give them to him. That's just my philosophy of him because he has no integrity, none whatsoever. And that's how I feel. So that's why I came on today. And I hope, excuse me, trying to get situated in this chair. I hope that and I have not read this whole article. I did watch Turtle Boy yesterday, and the other thing that I'm going to cover the Canton Nine because that started because of Karen Reed, and it's that crap of harassment that is just so unbelievable. And the fact that the chief of police seems to be so concerned about that, she's thinking of having it appealed or appealing it. I mean, Helena Rafferty just sits at home, runs over people when she's drunk, attends concerts. And for the rest of it, I think she just disappears. I mean, honestly, I've been watching the Canton Select Board. I would have told them to get their butts back out there in the public this is bullcorn. There's so many different things I'm mad about. So today I'm going to start with this because he did release his article. I'm going to share the screen so you can see it. And let's see, Turtle Boy breaking news, which I think it is this one. Whew, I'm lucky. Sometimes I hit the wrong thing. So excuse me as I read. I do apologize. And while I'm reading, I won't be able to see my chat very well. Let me see if I can. Uh, maybe I can see some. Okay. So I apologize for wherever my eyes are going to look. I've got this straight in front of me. I don't know how to do anything other than be myself. So let's just see what we go. Here is Turtle Boy. Aiden Kearney. I hope I'm saying his name correct. Even if people don't like his tactics, the man's a genius. I've got another video that I'm going to play at some point where everything that he said in that video has come to fruition. It's been brought out to the public. So, the interview with Karen Reed, trial juror. Ready? I'm ready. 2 weeks ago, I received an email from someone claiming to be a juror in the Karen Reed trial. I was immediately skeptical, as there's no shortage of degenerates who would spend their days pretending to be a juror in order to feed me misinformation to see if I'd report it, in the hopes that I would damage my reputation. This juror said a couple of things about clothing that they were wearing and other context clues that helped identify them. But Paul O'Keefe and various McAlberts got to see the same jurors I did, so I wasn't convinced yet. Luckily, this alleged juror agreed to FaceTime me, and when I answered the phone, I was staring back at a face that I had spent 10 weeks looking at. This juror agreed to speak with me under the condition of anonymity. They're very afraid of being doxxed and attacked by the anti Karen Reed mob, but wanted to share with me what they could without giving up information that would make it easier to identify who they were. Is that not just heartbreaking right there? Just, I mean, they're even put in this position. It's terrible. Is that really blurry for you guys? Or is it, can you read it? Do I need to do something to make it bigger? I'm looking at, I mean, my screen, it looks itty bitty. I'm so sorry. I don't know how to make it any better. Okay, my squirrel moment's over. If it's real hard to read, you can put something in the comment and I see it sometime. Okay, I sent them a list of almost 40 questions, most of which they answered. However, the one thing most people want to know about is something they don't feel comfortable talking about yet: specifics of juror deliberations. That may change as time passes, but for now, I was able to ask what I could, and they answered. I was Now I was able to ask what I could, and they answered they could. So they answered what they felt comfortable answering. And here we have some merchandise for Turtle Boy, which I think is really cute. I think it's really cute, and I don't. So, and this is on Turtle Boy. It's tbdailynews.com. And I know that Turtle Boy himself will be doing a live on this when he's back from vacation. I don't feel that he would mind that I'm doing this because I don't think it's going to dissuade any of the other people from. Hold on one second. Give me just a second. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get my Shopify store finished, and that was a message from. I had to hire somebody because I kept messing up. Okay. Why did you decide to come forward and speak with Turtle Boy of all media outlets? After the trial, I did a lot of catching up across multiple platforms and sources and realized the way news is reported has changed exponentially over the years, no longer coming from mainstream media alone. You're a gritty and unshakable journalist despite being perceived as a bit rough around the edges. Above all, you seem genuinely care about the truth that was driving force behind my decision. I totally agree with that comment. Totally. He may, and that's, I've just not been able to find the words. Turtle Boy is, he's a very good investigative reporter, and how he words things may sometimes be offensive to people, but you can't not give him credit for the fact that, in my opinion, he brought this out. He brought this to everybody, but that's my opinion. Um, had you ever heard of this trial prior to being called for jury duty? I'm sure I heard about it when it happened, but it seemed to be another story like any others you see on the news. I didn't pay more attention to this than I did anything else. That's how I was as well. I'm just saying. When you got jury duty that day, were you aware that the Reed case was picking a jury? I was aware they were picking the jury, but I was still surprised when I was chosen from the hundreds of people they brought in during jury selection. Where did you park and what time did you have to get there every day? We reported each day at 8:30 a.m. and took the bus to arrive for the 9 a.m. start time. I'm not going to disclose the location. I assume this location may be used for upcoming trials and it's not fair to future jurors. I mean, how remarkable. I'm not sure I would have thought of that, but look at this juror right here, showing that they are exactly what they that we feel they are. Did jurors have chance to converse socially during the trial? What sort of things did you guys talk about? Did anyone ever discuss the case? We never discussed the case. We spent a lot of time together during bus rides, lunch, and breaks, and tried to maintain some normalcy during this very different time in our lives. Our conversations were social, like you would have with anyone you spend time with, discussing how the weekend was, things we had going on outside of court, etc. So that's the juror's answer, and I can just say if I was on this jury, I know that I could talk about my grandbaby at any point in time. There are so many different things that you can talk about. There's a group of people that are sitting there day after day after day, and because of the circumstances, yeah, I see that they're gonna get to know each other, and that makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it? They seem to be very united, very protective. They also seem to not want to do anything that another juror would be involved in. I hope that makes sense. I apologize for if I don't. So, um, did jurors see protesters assembling outside the court every day? There were times we could hear them or catch a glimpse from the bus, but we couldn't see everything going on outside. How hard was it not to go home and read about this case? Did you ever have to just stay off the internet and not watch TV at all? To be honest, it wasn't that difficult. I went into this completely impartial, and I felt my job as a juror was to ensure that Karen got a fair trial, where only the facts and evidence were considered versus information from outside sources. I took my job very seriously. Karen's life was at stake, and she deserved the benefit of not having outside information or opinions cloud my judgment. Sounds like a juror I'd want on on mine if I was one. Were jurors made aware that I was kicked out of the court for most McAlbert testimony? No. It just amazes me that they were able to get him thrown out of that courtroom. Well, not thrown that, that the judge, but I mean such BS that they're afraid of anything. Such BS. I mean, those people here, I'm gonna mute for 1 second. Gotta take a sip of coffee. I hope I'm not going too fast. I hope I'm not going too slow. Anybody have any like opinions for what I'm doing? I guess is the question. Oh, thank you, Mother of Vincent LePew. I'm not sure. Okay, I'm sorry. I was getting a little dry there. Were you made aware that jurors would not be receiving transcripts? Thank you, Finding Dory. During the deliberations and would have to rely on their notes. Yes, we were told at the beginning of the trial that no transcripts of testimony would be available, and we would need to rely on our notes during deliberations. So that's good. But I wonder if they felt they weren't going to get reports. I mean, what they asked for was a report. So I'm pretty sure, wasn't that what they asked for? Was a report? I think so. What did you think of John's mother crying during the trial? Did it seem to influence you or any other jurors? I mean, before I read his answer, no one could sit there and watch a mother grieving and crying and not feel something, right? We all agree with that? So here's the response. I felt immense empathy for both the O'Keefe and Reed families. The death of a loved one is not something anyone ever wants to go through, and their emotions throughout the trial were at times heartbreaking to see. While I didn't let this impact me when it came to the evidence being presented, I'd be lying if I said it didn't affect me on a personal level, both during and after the trial. John lost his life, a tragedy regardless of what other events may or may not have taken place. And I often felt like that aspect was forgotten amid the trial. And I'm going to have to, I do apologize, but right here, um, I'm just going to have to say that I can't, sorry, I can't think of any trial that I've watched that involved a death that the prosecutor didn't bring up that person's death over and over and over. What I felt this trial was, in my opinion, was not did Karen Reed kill John O'Keefe? That because we didn't have any evidence from the Commonwealth. that she did. What this trial was is, hey, y'all are saying bad things about the McAlberts, and we're going to show you you should be saying bad things about Karen Reed. That's really what the trial was on the prosecution side. On the defense side, what it was getting the truth out. So, and to say that it should have been, when Jen McCabe said, "Our friend, we just wanted to know what happened to our friend." That right there tells you you don't know what happened to your friend. You're just assuming. Okay, I apologize. There you go. There's that rant. Okay. What did you think of Judge Canone? Do you feel like she was partial to the Commonwealth with her rulings or demeanor during testimony? She was kind to us. She always made a point to remind us to stand up and stretch during sidebars. She kept to the schedule for breaks and lunch like clockwork, and she reminded everyone to keep their voices up so we could leave the AC on. It got hot in that jury box. Sitting in a chair listening to testimony all day is very different from real life. You need to be attentive to catch everything, and you can't just get up and move around whenever you want to. It sounds pretty silly unless you experience it, but it's very different when you can't just get up and get a snack, use the bathroom, take a brain break, or get some air anytime you want to. Of course, when we asked for breaks, there was never any pushback, but we were also cognizant of the need to keep things moving. I'm sorry, my nose itches. Oh, I don't know why. What does that mean? Too bad it didn't mean that my money tree in there is going to start dropping the leaves. I have a money tree, really do. I've kept it alive for 2 years so far. That is a record for me. Okay, just one second. I hope that's not loud. At times, I feel there was a level of professionalism that wasn't being maintained, and that the severity of the circumstances was not always at the forefront. It bothered me when there was an objection and her response was, "I'll let them have it." Yeah, I hated that. I mean, it's like, "Oh, by the grace of the Lord, you're going to allow them to get a question in." Oh my heavens, I'm so shocked. I think there was some bias against the defense, particularly Mr. Jackson. But I also think there were times she was hard on Mr. Lowley, particularly when it came to repeating questions about well-established things already made clear throughout the prior testimony. There were times I would glance over and wonder if she was even paying attention, but to some extent, I can understand that it was hard to stay focused. I struggled with this myself, mainly if it was something we had already seen or heard 8 times, like the weather report, the layout of the waterfall bar, etc. Yeah, whenever Lowley would object, it seemed that it was, "I'll let them have that," on when she did actually allow the defense, because most of the time she was ruling against the defense. There were some of her questions that, in all honesty, some of the questions, in all honesty, I was like, "Wow." Like, for example, when they were playing, the video of when Karen Reed originally was telling the police officer, "My boyfriend, I left him here and he didn't come home." Yeah, this I believe they were allowed to play it twice, but if you listen really hard, I made out, I believe it was "didn't come home," or maybe it was "left him." But I believe that what he was saying is there, and maybe if she would have let it keep going, maybe we would have heard it. I mean, obviously, yeah, I think that's the same police officer, isn't it, that changed his story on the stand, and was it, Jackson that asked him about it? I could be wrong because they all changed their stories on the stand, didn't they? Alright, so, yeah, I mean, the fact that he was allowed to ask everyone, "What time did you arrive? Where did you sit?" Yeah, butt discs. "Where did you sit? What were you drinking? Do you normally drink that? Was it bottle or tap? Did you happen to have any appetizers? Did you notice what the guy sitting next to you was drinking?" And then when that witness is gone and the next witness comes up, uh, "Oh, what was so and so drinking? Well, so and so was just on here and just told us what they were drinking. We don't need you to ask somebody else. Was it snowing? Yes, it was snowing when they left the waterfall." Oh, the butt dials and screenshots of text messages. Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, come on, folks. There is way so much that we just can't believe any of it. All right. Was it hard to stay awake and focused during some of the loudly questioning of witnesses? What, if anything, can I really say about this? You were there. Oh, I love that answer. I love that answer. Oh, everybody's leaving me. Bye, guys. What witnesses did you find most compelling? Whoa, that was something else. The medical examiner. I felt she was a straight shooter and gave her medical opinion based only on the facts. There was no point where I felt her opinion had been influenced by either the Commonwealth or the defense to fit a theory being presented. Who do you think was the most pointless witness? Pointless? The two women that were in Aruba with John and Karen a few weeks prior to the 29th. I think we all think that was pointless, don't we? Unnecessary? John's niece and nephew. I agree 1,000%. Except they did confirm that Karen Reed actually did not have access to the Ring camera in on the computer or app or whatever. Unnecessary, John's niece and nephew. I didn't see any reason why the children were brought into a courtroom to testify after they've all been through. It could be that they wanted to be heard, but I felt wrong. I felt it wrong to have them on the stand with everyone watching. I agree 1,000% with that. I also feel in this particular situation, knowing that you're up there presenting a case that you have absolutely no chance of winning because you have no proof, and you let the children get up there and testify. And that's so wrong. Not only that, but I have to ask myself, and I'll never know. Nobody will ever know because we don't know John O'Keefe. But he loves his niece and nephew as if they're his own children. He took them to raise. At one point, we can say he and Karen had a really good relationship because they did move in together pretty much for the most part. They had struggles. We know that as well. They argued often because he felt she was spoiling the children, and she was doing the best she could, having never been a mom herself, but wanting to be as helpful. And no one can tell me she didn't love the children. So by putting them on the stand, by putting thoughts in their head to make them virtually hate Karen Reed, in my opinion, the complete injustice to these children. But I think that's what's been done. I think it was. So that's my opinion. I haven't seen the children, don't know the children, but just by the way Jen McCabe acts, and from the things I've heard that Mrs. O'Keefe said, like, "And you left him there?" Yeah, they blame Karen Reed. They wanted to be sure that the children did too. No one should ever use the children. Children should be left out of it. Bringing the children on the stand was just abhorrent, in my opinion. The 2 women in Aruba, nobody that watched the, 'cause I'm gone back and watching the pre-motion, the yeah, pre-trial motions, get it spit it out. The pre-trial motions, and in doing so, that was argued against, but the Commonwealth felt that, it really needed to show what Karen Reed was. She just this is the reason that she had motive. Huh, I mean, my gosh, how many people get into arguments with their spouse, with their partner, with the person they're dating, the person they're married to? They get into arguments. I mean, it's going to happen. But if you think that your, significant other is out there catching a glimpse of another woman turning his head, I don't know of any woman that's not going to call their man out for doing that. Does it mean she wanted to kill him? No, no. And any fight when you've been drinking is going to be worse than if you're not, right? I mean, let's be realistic. I had my drinking days. Um, yeah. So, all right. Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, and Michael Proctor all greeted the jury and thanked them after their testimony. What did you think about that? Yeah, I noticed that too. These 3 men were a huge focal point of the trial. So while I wish I could have taken it as nothing more than a polite gesture, I did not. Do you find Brian Albert's story believable about not waking up to come outside? Now, I can tell you before I read the answer, there is absolutely no way you're going to convince me that he slept through it all. And there's no way that you're going to convince me once he was awoken that he didn't care enough to put on his clothes and get his butt out front, see if he could help, see what was going on. No, let alone the fact Jen McCabe was not scared going into that house. A dead man is on the lawn. She knows he was attending the party the night before, and a dead man is on the lawn. Yeah, there is no way that dog didn't bark. No way. I mean, it's impossible. They're going to alert. So, all right, now I'm going to read his answer. I was very torn on this throughout the trial. On one hand, I can understand being pretty drunk, going to bed late, and being deep asleep to the point where nothing wakes you up. But I also find it hard to believe that a first responder's instincts, which are ingrained and become part of who they are over the course of their career, had this much commotion on his front lawn and those instincts didn't kick in at any point. Yeah. I mean, you know, I remember it's kind of hard because it's been a long time ago, but I do remember when I would party and get pretty roaring drunk, and some type of emergency or just a situation would arise, and it was like the alcohol was just gone. You wake up and you're just thrown into something and you're just reacting in whatever crazy manner. So I agree But at some point he would, I mean, there's just no way. Yeah, rehoming the dog, Finding Dory, I'm afraid that dog, I really do worry that the dog has, walked over the Rainbow Bridge, to be honest, sadly. Okay. What did you think of Jennifer McCabe's testimony? I found Jennifer McCabe to be very combative, which was off-putting. Her demeanor made it difficult to process anything she was saying. Something felt off when she continued to ask to be reminded of statements, events, etc., with evidence of her prior accounts. It felt like she needed reminders of what she had previously said before she answered to keep from contradicting herself. Folks, 1000%, that was me during the whole thing. And when she would turn and look at the jurors, I mean, you can tell that she is very used to controlling situations and having her outcome the way she wants it. But it was clearly an act. And you can also tell that she was so much more concerned with the harassment that they had gotten than anything to do with Officer John O'Keefe being found dead on her sister in law's lawn. I know he wasn't pronounced dead on the lawn, but that's what he was. He was dead on their lawn. She didn't have any fear walking into the house. She was allowed to walk in the house. And I think that says pretty much it all for me. But when, you know, the point is that the attorneys, because she kept talking about how they were spinning stuff, right? How they were spinning stuff. And the thing is they can spin it, um well, they weren't spinning it, but she was trying to spin it. But she would say that you're spinning it. So by her asking to read what she had said so that she could come up with the exact verbiage, I'm guessing. And, you know, they weren't wanting exact verbiage, but they wanted the meaning to be the same as in her previous testimonies. But there's no way she could give the meaning of her previous testimonies if she didn't see them, because she had given so many and messed up so many times that she just, you know, it was a oh, okay. I'm sorry. We're only on question 18. I do apologize. Man, I can ramble. Ooh, there's a fly. I'm so sorry, guys. Forgive me. What did you think of Michael Proctor's testimony? Michael Proctor was mentioned every single day of this trial. So to say he was someone I was anxiously waiting to hear from would be an understatement. I was obviously disappointed that an officer of the law behaved in a way that showed so little integrity and didn't uphold their oath to protect and serve our community. While I do not agree with a lot of his behavior, when it came to the investigation and understand that said behavior was a critical part of the trial for the defense, I wish it hadn't come down to reading text in open court where he essentially dehumanized Karen. None of that had anything to do with the core facts of the case, but it was a bit eye opening to hear how investigations are discussed amongst some of our law enforcement. Powerful and strong. Thank you, Mother of Vincent LePew. There were many things that didn't add up in his testimony, but that can be said for other witnesses as well. I felt it hurt the Commonwealth that the lead investigator wasn't there to testify solely about the outcome of his investigation, but to testify about his actions throughout the investigation. Problem is, there was no investigation. I mean, that's it's, red Solo cups. Well, he wasn't even there that day, but then in Yeah, when talking about getting the John O'Keefe's phone handed to him, he was at the crime scene, but then explain where the crime scene was. Remember that guy? Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm sorry. Um, did you find Colin Albert's testimony believable? I found Colin to be purposely elusive when asked questions that he was prepared for. But when he came to questions he was not prepared for, the cracks in his testimony started to show. I think we can all agree that none of us has ever slipped on ice while holding a solo cup and broken our fall with just our knuckles. There you go. Thought the same as the rest of the world when we watched that, let me tell you. Did you believe Colin Albert was inside Brian Albert's house? I know that at some point Colin Albert was in the house. That was proven beyond a reasonable doubt. But whether he was there past the time he stated is not clear. I do put weight on Allie McCabe seeming to slip up during the part of her testimony where she stated that Colin wasn't in the house when John was. Yeah, sweet Allie. Everybody caught that slip up. I could believe that that is the truth, but that statement also put John in the house, which is something the Commonwealth has said did not happen. Do you believe that Katie McLaughlin's testimony that Karen Reed said I hit him at the scene that morning? I believe Katie McLaughlin, or however you say her name, believes she heard this, whether it be from her own memory or what she was reminded she heard. However, I did find it hard to believe that all the first responders on the scene that morning, she was the only one to hear that statement. But at the time, there was a lot of conflicting testimony from first responders of what they heard or saw that morning. I didn't put any more weight on this testimony than other testimony related to what people heard or saw that morning. Oh, I love this question. Oh, I love it. Yeah, I think that they were I think that they were a little bit confused, Jenny, when I think that, you know, count 2 with all the subcategories under it, I think that just totally confused them. Because in all honesty, if you find not guilty on 1 and 3, I myself I guess I need to read count 2 again real thoroughly to even see where I think their minds could be. I may need to do that because they seem very engaged. They seem like they get it. They saw what we saw. But the holdout is the count 2, and to me, it's like, were you trying to just give anything that you could, just a little smidgen of something to the O'Keefes, which sadly, prosecuting the wrong person is not justice. Even if they would walk around with their heads held high and say they finally got what they wanted, it's not justice because she didn't kill him. Did you believe Lucky La, LaGraffin's testimony? I'm not going to say his last name again. I seem to just tear that up. Excuse me. Aw, thank you, Finding Dory. I appreciate you stopping in. Bye. Lucky is a very likable man, as is his boss, Michael Trotta. Lucky's testimony appeared to be truthful. It didn't seem he had an agenda, but that he just wanted to share what he knew. I agree 1,000%. Ooh, I wanted to know this one. Did you feel deceived by the inverted Sally Port video? Oh, I've been dying to know the answer to this. Excuse me, I've got to take a drink real quick. All right. Yes, very much so. The prosecution's emphasis on this video and its supposed significance in proving beyond a reasonable doubt that nobody was near the damaged taillight was a primary focus throughout the trial. It was a shock to find out that what I believed I was seeing and what I was actually seeing were not this one and the same. Yeah. So I agree, I agree, I agree. I mean, to me, that was, and if I'm not mistaken, y'all can thank Helena Rafferty for that, chief of police, for that video. That wasn't even given until they were already in trial, if I'm not mistaken. Yay, let's hear it for Helena Rafferty. You are just an absolute embarrassment to a police force. The entire community wanted you removed, yet you good old boys, they kept you on for another year. Unreal. Unreal. I know. I love the questions. They're awesome because, I've wanted to know how they felt on so many levels. Did the jury have an idea about the federal investigation? If not, what did you think Ryan Nagel was talking about when he said he spoke to the feds? What did you think of all the references to other proceedings witnesses testified at were in reference to? Oh, sorry. Man, my nose. Perhaps others caught on, but I honestly had no idea. I missed Ryan Nagel mentioning the feds during his testimony, and I assumed that other proceedings were another grand jury or something like that. I had no reason to think there was something as big as a federal investigation going on outside the trial. Do you feel deceived not being told about the feds? I don't think I would use the word deceived, but I would say misled. Looking back, not knowing the entire scope of what was happening and not having that and not having what seemed to be crucial information likely hindered my ability to see the whole picture. If I'd known the full scope of the ARCA witnesses would have made more sense. The things I thought were important may not have been where I focused my attention, and I may have looked at some witnesses' testimonies differently. How could anyone on that jury think Karen Reed hit John with her car after hearing from the ARCA guys? I can only speak for myself, but you have to understand that we were not told where these witnesses came from. There was a lot of conflicting testimony throughout the trial, specifically regarding IT and accident reconstruction experts. I understood that neither the Commonwealth nor did defense hire them, but I had no idea where they came from. For all I knew, there were two very smart, well educated people who read about the case online and decided to analyze what happened. I found them very credible, but there were things they weren't aware of that I thought were important, and I couldn't understand why they were testifying when they didn't seem to have all the information. The positioning of their presence and the information they had been provided to analyze was strange, no doubt, but being hired by the FBI or other agencies never crossed my mind. We're up to question 27. How did you feel about Brian Albert being in court for closing deliberations? Oh, I wanted to know this. I felt it was inappropriate. He was a key witness and a major focal point during the trial. So I don't think he should have been allowed in the courtroom at any time other than during the testimony. This goes for Jennifer McCabe and Colin Albert as well. So, Paul O'Keefe, there you go. You brought them in, you invited them according to your interview. So, there you go. There you go. See? Did you feel that a not guilty verdict for Karen on the manslaughter charge implied that the McAlberts were somehow responsible? This is a tough one to answer. Human nature is to want to be Perry Mason and solve the case. And I wasn't exempt from that. I had times during the trial where I would think, if this isn't what happened, then what did happen? As the weeks went on, I realized that my job wasn't to solve the case, but to focus on the one possibility that was being presented to me. So, no, I didn't feel that a not guilty verdict for Karen implied that any of the Alberts or the McCabe's were responsible. Having been back in the real world for some time now, I see that it's very likely the public would have perceived it precisely that way. Oh, my nose itches. You do another one? How long did the jury take to reach unanimous not guilty verdicts on the murder charge? What was discussed during deliberations that made some jurors change their vote from not guilty to guilty for manslaughter? Oh, my nose. I'm so sorry. Wow. My nose itched when I wasn't on live, just so you know. It's not like I'm allergic to StreamYard or anything. Given that motions on counts 1 and 3 remain outstanding, I don't believe anyone should discuss this at the time. Anything related to deliberations and their outcome should be kept in the courtroom. Gotta respect this man. Now that you've had time to research the case post trial, what have been some of the most surprising things to learn about? The amount of people who are invested in this case. I went into this and not knowing what a following it had and how much it had taken over the social media, podcasts, etc. The federal investigation was also a huge surprise. A lot of things made more sense after learning that. See, I think they should have been able to talk about the federal and the feds hiring the experts. I mean, they didn't have to get into the case, but you know, at least let them know where they came from instead of letting people. Did it come out better? Google it. Let's see. Sorry. Do you think Chloe is alive? I hope so. Now, those are 31 questions that were answered. So I believe it says questions not answered. So I'm going to assume 9 are not. Would you ever consider coming forward and using your real name? If not, why not? I can understand not answering that because you're putting them in a bad situation about what they actually fear. Are you in contact with other jurors in the case? The juror doesn't want to talk about other jurors at the time. Do you know why juror in red was eliminated? Juror doesn't want to talk about other jurors at this time. What sort of questions did Lally and the defense ask you during the voir dire? Jurors worried this will lead to identifiable information. Did your friends and family know you were a juror? Did they ask you about it? How hard was it to keep your identity a secret? Juror is worried this will lead to identifiable information. Did you understand the Jim McCabe Google search testimony from the 3 witnesses? Which did you find more compelling and why? Do you believe Karen Reed killed John O'Keefe with her car? Jurors worried this will lead to identifiable information. Has this case changed your attitude and trust towards police? So, then this is his top takeaways. Right, I agree. The BS, the BS is, "Oh, look, I just learned something new." But the BS was that the judge, I mean, on the pretrial motions, and I haven't played that one yet, she wanted it to come out. The judge wanted it to come out. And I have no doubt whatsoever that Lowley actually told told McCabe how to get it in. I mean, uh, what else is there to say, right? So this is Turtle Boy's top takeaways. Jurors clearly had no idea that the most important witnesses in the case, the ARCA experts, were hired by the FBI. Many believe they were hired by Karen Reed's insurance company. The defense should fight harder before trial two to expose MIL, preventing disclosure of the federal investigation during trial. Yeah, I think that if first of all, somebody's got to step in and stop this mess. And you know what? It would be really nice if those that are of the ability to step in and just stop this, not only stop this, but just declare that Karen Reed is not a suspect. Karen Reed is 100% innocent and had been railroaded. And let them enjoy the holidays. This happened January 29th, 2022. The trial looming over them. 22, 23, and what, 4 months of 24? Yeah. I think somebody somewhere's got the ability to stop this. I mean, unfortunately, Beverly believes that she is absolutely untouchable. There are offices that are above her. The governor, from what I read, the governor is the one that appoints judges. Well, I would think the governor can unappoint them too. I would think the governor could say, you know what, you, lady, you have lost what it means to be a judge. It's apparent to the world. You've brought embarrassment down on this state. The state troopers have brought embarrassment on this state. The Canton Police Department has brought embarrassment among this state. Every every law enforcement person involved in this case, not the EMTs, okay? Not the EMTs. The EMTs were in a frantic situation and they were trying to recall things, had heard things. So, not her, not them, I mean, but all of the Canton Police Department, Helena Rafferty included. Helena Rafferty is more concerned with harassment, and it's just not good. Okay. Juror completely missed Ryan Nagel accidentally mentioning he spoke with the feds. Not sure what would have happened if Yannetti had asked him to expound on that. Why shouldn't witnesses be able to tell the jury who they spoke with about this case? And this goes for Lucky Lawford too, who was questioned by the feds long before the state police interviewed him. And see, that's an excellent, excellent point. But don't forget that, oh, Beverly was more concerned about the harassment coming out. See, she wanted to keep the facts about the case away from people. She didn't want anything that was going to help at all. If it was going to benefit the defendant, it was almost all, oh no, I haven't I don't know how to do any of that. I I'm sorry. Maybe I'll figure it out. I don't ever wanna ask people for anything. So, I mean, I guess I'll look into it. I'm not I would never ask for them. I don't know. So, but thank you, Jeannie. I hope, is it Jenny? Jenny, I think. I'm sorry. I think I called you Jeannie. It's Jenny. Um, I'm sorry. I'll look into it. What else was it? Oh, and lucky for the simple fact he was you can tell that he takes his job very seriously. You can tell that he takes his job very well and that he's very observant. And I know that after he testified, um, the the folks on you know the McCabe side. I'm not going to say on John O'Keefe's. They're not on John O'Keefe's side. So the folks that don't want the truth to come out, making a stupid comment that Lucky he reported that he ran into a basketball hoop or basketball net, but didn't report the car sitting in front of the McAlberts. And it's like he was being polite and nothing was damaged there. The reason that he reported something he damaged was if the homeowner were to call up and say, "Oh my gosh, I think your plow driver just took out my baseball or my basketball net." And so he called to say, "Hey, I ran into this basketball net." And just because he ran into a basketball net doesn't mean he's not seeing well. He's looking. A basketball net, they're all over the place in my neighborhood, and they're not the easiest things to see, to be honest. I mean, the one we have in front of our house, see, we even have one. It's black. The pole is black. The backboard is black, and the net is white. But at night, um, you have to be looking. Well, if it's snowing, yeah. I mean, he's more concerned looking to not run into things. But as far as, yes, she's 1,000% innocent. But the car sitting in front of the McAlberts at what was it? He said 3 a.m., 3:30. He was being polite. He figured that whoever was there just needed a place to hang out. There was a storm going. I mean, that's how I see it. But okay, let's see. Um, the medical examiner was supposed to be strong witness for the Commonwealth, but ended up being a strong witness for the defense. True, and also in the pre-motions, in the trial pre-motions, Lowley was able to get, was it the death certificate changed or redacted where it said undetermined? Yeah, right. That was such. Oh no, there's no way they can use the second jury, the same jury. Yeah, the same jury that was hung in the first trial. No, ma'am, they wouldn't be there for the next. I bet they'll all be watching it, but they would not be jurors on the case because they didn't come to an agreement the first time. So they'll have to have all new jurors. The juror clearly felt intimidated by Brian Higgins, Brian Albert, Michael Proctor, all of whom are cops who address them directly. Defense should file a motion to prevent witnesses from speaking to the jury like this and sitting in on closing statements. Yeah, they were brought in just to intimidate. And I think it's Paul O'Keefe said just to show the solidarity or something on their side. I don't know. Considering the Sullivan sisters and the kids were only called as witnesses to prove that Karen had motive to murder John O'Keefe and that the vote on murder was 12-0, it wasn't surprising that the juror found them the least relevant witnesses. Will the Commonwealth be dumb enough to waste their time with them in trial too? Now, I'm going to say, will you be dumb enough to waste your time on the sisters? Because it really had no bearing. And could you just pretend to have a little empathy and compassion, even if the children want to testify, and keep them off the stand? Because you know what, Lally? You know Karen Reed is innocent. So it just makes you more of a disgrace putting these children on the stand. That's just my opinion, though. That's my opinion. It's not Turtle Boys. It's not the jurors. That's my opinion. The fact that this juror reached out to me of all the media members and was the first juror to actually talk about their experiences as a juror, as opposed to the vote count, speaks volumes about how I am perceived by the general public and should help me with my bogus witness intimidation charges. All right, so that was it. That was it. I thought it was going to be a little bit longer, and that was it. So that was good. I have to go to the bus stop soon and get my grandson. Um, but I will be going live again, and then I'm not sure what time. So this one was really funny. I know that people don't just sit up and look to see when I'm doing anything. So I'm really getting to slide in with just a few of some of the nicest viewers that you're helping me, that I'm okay. I'm okay doing this, and not feel like such an idiot. I watch these attorneys, and they're just so professional. So thank you, Mother of Vincent LePew, and please, if you ever have any suggestions, let me know, because I'm only going to know if y'all tell me. Now, I'm going to say I'm trying to figure out what to tell you to put in. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to get an email that I can put out here for if anybody wanted to email me anything, because man, I tell you what, any information, and I'm not a journalist and I don't live there, so I can only get it. And like I say, absolute 100% respect to Turtle Boy for having that interview, for respecting the jurors' wishes, for being, he shows compassion, definitely shows integrity. And, especially knowing that Helena Rafferty wants to appeal where the Canton Nine are being subjected to harassment charges. Because, see, for them, they want Turtle Boy. They want Turtle Boy because he's a loud-mouth journalist that's screaming to the top of his lungs that this is an injustice. And that's why this is going everywhere. Everyone can see this because Turtle Boy brought it out to the public. He brought it out to the public. And I think that it's absolutely fantastic what he's done. How he gets his results is not harassment. Unfortunately, if you're in the guilty party, if you are looking a little shady and somebody is allowing you to scream harassment, that's one thing. But somebody in the legal field or legal force or whatever you guys have that you have any respect for in the legal jargon of your state of Massachusetts, no. You can't turn any of what the Canton 9 did into harassment, nor can you turn anything that Turtle Boy has done as harassment. And, Judge Beverly, you can dislike Turtle Boy and his antics. You don't have to like him. He just uncovered the biggest rat's nest of slime living in Canton, Massachusetts. So, with this, thank you. With this, I'm going to say bye for now. And I'm trying to think, but um, I don't know what all it's called, but I do have some emails that I'm going to read, and they have to do with a posting that was out. I believe it was yesterday. It started going around that Karen Reed changed her, um, you know, um, that picture that's on the what is it? Oh, y'all know. Anyway, Karen Reed changed her picture on her account somewhere, and what it had profile picture. Thank you, Jenny. Man, this old brain sometimes can just get so embarrassing. And I was a squirrel before I got old, so you mix squirrel with old, and I can just forget what I'm saying right in the middle of a sentence. But yeah, she changed her profile pic. Well, I'm going to read because because of that. I'm going to read all the emails that I have where I don't know if it was Morrissey, but it was definitely a DA's office trying to get them to get the FBI to back off, basically. That's my interpretation. So, um, that is what I'm doing next. That is my plan, and I'm not sure at what time. It may be um, maybe late, maybe sooner. My husband gets off at, I don't know, he gets off early today. My grandson is, I've got to walk up to the bus stop for him. And then uh, my granddaughter and oh, yeah, yeah. That, when she posted that, yeah, I've got some very interesting ones that I'm just going to read. I said that the thing that has my fired up is Beverly is for one, what she did to Karen Reed, that really, really irked my constitution, but how she's just disregarding these jurors shows she does not have respect for this jury. I don't care how you turn it. No, because if she did, she would bring them in. She would do the right thing. But I have I have some, and I was reading them, and I found them to be so entertaining because it just says a lot. So actually, my goal is, and even if I bore people, it's fine. They don't have to watch, but I may find something that one day really just interests people, and I'm gonna dig up the pre-motions because those are amazing. And then, but first, I've got to do that because of that profile pic being changed. Yeah, I've got some stuff to share. So I'm going to be doing that, and I may get to do that right after I get back with my grandson. And then after that, we've got some rearranging and stuff to do in the house. So maybe extremely late before I do another one. So even though I say that I'm going live, if it's 2 or 3 in the morning, it's just that I'm finding what works easier and better for me. So lives can always be watched whenever. Thank you guys for coming, and thank you for being here. I'm excited. You know, I've got Mother of Vincent LePew seems to be my first one. She is right on me. But thank you, Jenny and Kathy. And let's see, Finding Dory, I think left already. And um but yeah, I have so many different ones. If I could stay up 24/7 and do them, it would probably take me a good month. Maybe longer because there's so much stuff. So, all right, I'm going to say bye for now, and I hope to see y'all later. If not, feel free anytime you're bored, catch me on replay. You can stick me in your ear because I don't do anything that's worth watching. Bye, everybody.